I'm going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly parts of it. There was one part that I thought was pretty good politics. Interesting. There's a couple of parts where I thought, oh, well, okay, that's an interesting point. I'll get to those as well. But overall, filled with comical, over the top lies again. But there was also something he didn't say that was also very, very important. And I want to tell you about that as well. So we're going to break it all down for you guys. By the way, of course, our sponsor, part of TYT now, is Noble Mobile. If you've got any kind of cell phone service, Verizon, AT&T, you got to switch. You're crazy. If you're paying more than $50, that makes no sense at all, because here you're not switching your phone, you're not switching your number, you're not switching your contacts or anything else. You're just paying less. So tyt.com/switch, tyt.com/switch. You get to keep everything the same, but you pay way less, and they even give you cash back if you don't use your data. I only paid $39 last month. So go help yourself. That's our gift to you in the holidays. Make some money. So all right, now let's talk about the speech. Number one, he came out. Did he blame Biden? Of course. Okay. Now he said this, such a classic Trump thing, right? He said, he said, it's not the Republicans' fault. It's the Democrats' fault. Now, that's a funny thing to say, of course, because normally politicians are a little bit more sophisticated than that. And here, he just says everything so bluntly, right? Remember, not my fault, even though I'm the president. The buck does not stop here, okay? It stops somewhere else. I don't know, Missouri, Democrats somewhere, right? So, but people have gotten used to it, and that kind of bluntness actually generally helps him. But guys, let's go real quick here. I don't want to tease you too much. I want to get some of the best facts. Okay. He says we lower drug prices 4, 5, 106%. Wait. If you lower drug prices 100%, they'd be at zero. How could you lower them 600%? It was in a teleprompter, and so that what that means is they wrote it down in advance. They all looked around. Does lowering drug prices past 100% make any sense? That's a mathematical impossibility. And they were all like, yep, let's go with it. Yep, good idea. You know what, guys, though, think about it. It's not just Trump. Stephen Miller and this whole team, they're insulting your intelligence. So did your drug prices go down, let alone 600%? And that's the problem with this speech. That's the core problem with this speech. It goes smack dab against reality. So here, let's break down more. He said, you all have higher wages now. Do you? So if you all have like dramatically higher wages, then you'll think he's right, etc. But the vast majority of the country does not have that. So that's going to be a problem for him. He says, prices are down from last year. Well, that's just not true. And you know it because you're paying those prices. So they're up 3% from just last year. So under Trump, prices have not gone down, they've gone up. And he thinks I could just BS my way out of it, right? I'll just tell them that the prices are down and they won't notice what they're paying at the grocery store. Not really how it works, okay? So, in fact, here's an amazing reality. From a year ago to now, the average American family is paying $208 more per month for essentials. That's a lot of money, $208 a month more. So as your family is having to deal with that, when this guy gets on there and goes, don't worry, your prices are lower, your wages are higher, your drug prices don't exist anymore. At some point, it's so removed from reality that even his own base is like, that's not what I'm seeing at all. So, which is going to lead to the main reason that he gave this speech. He said the unemployment's the best we've ever had. Like the least amount of unemployment. I'm like 4.6%. I remember unemployment way lower than that many, many, many times. Looked it up. It's actually the highest unemployment we have had in the last 4 years. The number one problem Trump has is reality, and he just can't get past that. And his entire life, he's BS'd past reality. But I think this time he's getting caught, and he's getting caught in a big, big way. So he said The average family lost or paid less on energy prices. So how much less? So if he had said the average family paid $25 less, $250 less across the year, you could say, well, maybe. I mean, he's giving away the store to the oil companies. Some gas prices have gone down. Maybe, right? But he can't help himself. So he said the average family's energy prices costs have gone down $5,000 to $10,000. Did your electricity bill go down $10,000? Or you include your gas bill, $10,000. Do you think you would have missed you saving five to $10,000? Like at some point, obviously, 2/3 of the country, based on the polling, are already, excuse me, guys, down, are tired of his nonsense and his lies, right? The rest are beginning to teeter on the edge as well. The polling's got him in the 30s now. Last one I saw is 39%. So you can say, you know what, 6 out of 10 have caught on to him. If I was Trump, I'd say 200% of the country, maybe 300% are against Trump now. And it was because of me. I'm the only one who did it. So he's this is I love this one. He said 100% of the jobs created since he's been president were for American born citizens. Really? How could you possibly verify that? But by the way, he's not saying just people who are here legally. He's saying citizens. So for if you got any kind of visa and you're working here, it doesn't count. You don't exist. But it's not just citizens. He said American born citizens. For example, I'm a naturalized citizen. So, I mean, I've had extra work this year, so I don't know if that counts, but I'm pretty sure there's over 50 million naturalized citizens in this country. None of them got a job this year. So, look, if you're MAGA still, you're one of the few remaining folks out there, don't you get tired of that? Like, and isn't it, again, how little does he respect you that he says outrageous things like that? Full well knowing that can't possibly be true. So now let me get to some of the good stuff. And we're the fairest show in America, so we tell you all of it. And so if I don't know, do people get bored? Don't you get bored of, like, if you tune into a left wing show, everything Trump said is wrong. You turn into a right wing show, he's a demigod, and everything he said is right. And drug companies are paying you now to use their drugs. Okay. So, all right. So, what are the good things about the speech? Number one is the thing he didn't say. So, people were worried that he was going to announce a war against Venezuela, and he didn't. So, at least for now, right? So, people were very, very worried about that. Tucker Carlson earlier today said he had talked to some Republican congressmen who were saying that war is coming, right? And when a president calls for a national address out of the blue, half the time declare war, right? So we were very worried about it. But maybe they got the memo that it is very unpopular, and it's also unpopular in his base. Why? No, now don't get me wrong. Half of his base is like, yeah, of course. When we said anti-war, we meant war with Venezuela because the oil companies need more oil and the defense contractors need more war. Okay, but they believe that. Okay, but half of his base is like, wait, I thought weren't we the anti-war guys? What's going on here, right? So, well, whether they realize it's unpopular or not, the bottom line is good news. Okay, at least in this address, he did not declare war. They're still on that war path. Uh, you know, just today he was talking about how it's the largest collection of our fleet that has ever happened, and it's off the coast of Venezuela. So we're all, of course, hoping that he's bluffing and trying to get them to some sort of conclusion with the bluff. But if he's not bluffing, oh, what a disastrous and needless war. But at least it didn't start tonight. Okay, and number two is the warrior dividend. And by the way, now in a little bit, I'm also going to tell you about the stuff he left out that's disastrous. Okay, but the warrior dividend, I think it's interesting and probably a good idea. Now, what is it? He said, since we raise so much more money from tariffs, which by the way is true. So you see, guys, this isn't about bias, it's just about facts. So we got $200 billion in revenue from the tariffs this year. We already get money for tariffs, but that is significantly higher than what we normally get. So he's saying that for 1.4 million people in the military, he's going to send them checks of $1,776 to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the country. And so that's really smart because then he's trying to make his tariffs more popular. And if you give it to the actual service members in the military, excuse me, I'm sick today, but I'm doing this anyway. That's really good optics. And you can say, hey, Cenk, that's just good optics, but it's going to create a bigger hole in the deficit. So, now, all that is true, but it's good politics, and I'd much rather have it go to them than somewhere else. Of course, it's got a downside, which is that Trump has promised that that extra tariff revenue is going to lower our income tax. Nonsense. It's going to get you. He's somehow going to get it right back to you guys in subsidies. Average citizens, that's gone. Obviously, it's going to bring down our deficits. It's going to do all these magical things. Guys, our debt is $38 trillion. Even with the $200 billion tariff, that's a drop in the bucket. So if he does this, it'll uh, take up most of the money, and so he won't be able to do any of the other things that he's promising with the tariffs. But as a matter of politics and optics, and to some degree substance, I'd rather have him do this than one of the other dumb proposals. So, okay, a little bit of a win there. So let's see if he really delivers on it. It's called a warrior dividend. Okay. But overall, he doubled down on tariffs and tax cuts. He said, oh, the tariffs are going great. The country hates the tariffs. So that's why he had to come up with a gimmick like this to make it seem like the tariffs are working and pro America, etc. But the tariffs are driving up prices. So in a sense, we're all paying a little bit more. But at least if it's going to real service members in the military, we can feel a tiny bit better about it. But I think doubling down optically on tariffs in the long run is not good politics. And because people don't like the tariffs and they have not worked and they have driven up prices. Now, the tax cuts he's bragging about, a lot of you might get some of the, reduced taxes on tips and overtime, etc. It doesn't wipe it away, and it doesn't mean you don't have to file your tax on it. You do, and as you'll see, it's a relatively small amount. The giant amount, as always, goes to the very, very wealthy, who are going to get people making above $500,000 are going to get $1.1 trillion in tax cuts, as if they needed more. And today on the Young Turks, we talked about how he's proposing a new corporate tax cut, like they don't get enough. So he wants to reduce their taxes to under 15%. It's absolutely outrageous. And that is a 100% donor robbery, right? The donors robbing us. And that's what's happening behind the scenes as he gives these speeches in front of the scenes, right? So, and I think that those tax cuts in the long run will be very, very unpopular. So we can discuss on that on the Young Turks, the main show, 6 to 8 o'clock Eastern, Monday through Friday, every day. Check it out. Then he says, oh, he pulled a Biden. He said, first he started with this hilarious Trumpism. He said, a year ago, our country was dead. It was totally dead. I was here. I don't remember it being totally dead. I wanted to drive Biden out of the race because I thought he was a very bad candidate. But did the whole country die? And then we were Lazarus, and Trump rose had us rise from the dead. He said we had totally failed, complete utter failure. Okay. Now he says this is the Biden part. He says when I go to talk to world leaders, they say we're the best. Biden used to always say things along those lines, and his advisors were like, "Stop talking about other world leaders. No Americans care about that." Biden was like, "The other world leaders love me. The other world leaders like me." Now Trump's doing the same thing, but Trump's is even funnier because if you don't kiss his ass, he takes it personally and like threatens to go to war against you or increase your tariffs by 2,000% or something. So all the world leaders are like, yes, Mr. Trump, you are so great and America is doing its best. But yes, of course, please don't tariff us. Okay. So no, what other world leaders think of him is totally irrelevant and not a big deal. Okay, last thing in terms of the speech, and then I'll get to the things that were missing. is he talked about how he's did this deal with the most favored nation, and this is also Biden-esque. So he did lowering drug prices and getting us most favored nation status in this regard is actually a good idea. Okay, in fact I love the idea. Is that what Trump did? No, he only did it with Pfizer, with one drug company. Okay, and there actually is a Trump proposal that could do that. I'll get to that in a second. So Biden negotiated drug prices on one drug and was like, I solved it. And he's like, you know what? 10 years from now, it'll be 10 drugs, 10 whole drugs. And we told you at the time it's a joke. It's to cover up the rest of the robbery. There's tens of thousands of drugs. So this is trying to distract you and pretend that the problem is solved. Trump is doing a similar gambit, but with just one drug company, right? So if it lowers some of your drug prices, great, I'm happy to have it, right? But is you're going to see, you pay the drug prices for the great majority, just like under Biden, for the great majority of drugs, your prices are not going to go down. The proposal that he has, an executive order that he passed, he didn't pass, he signed, was to get most favored nation status for all drugs. So what that means is whatever France, Germany, Japan, Mexico, Canada, etc., whatever they pay for the same exact drugs on average, we would pay. Right now, we pay way more than the rest of them. We subsidize the rest of the world. The drug companies make good profit in the rest of the world. For us, they take the good profit and layer on tremendous profit because they've totally stolen our government. So they bribe almost all of Congress. They bribe Trump. They bribe Biden. They're the, I mean, you hear me talking about the Israeli lobby all the time because we're in the middle of a genocide and all these other things, right? But the big pharma is a bigger lobby than the Israeli lobby, a more stronger one, and one that spends more money, and they own Congress even more than the Israeli lobby does, even more than defense contractors or the oil companies. So now the good news is that Ro Khanna did a brilliant idea. He's like, well, look, that's actually a Democratic proposal. So if you do it as an executive order, the courts are going to strike it down. It's pointless. It's a marketing gimmick. But if we pass it as a law, then the courts can't strike it down. So he took Trump's executive order and turned it into a bill. And he got two Republican co-sponsors. I think it might be, well, I think it might have been three, and now it's four because of us. And what do you mean us? So since it's a Trump executive order, all the Republicans should vote for it. Since it's Democratic policy that we love, all the Democrats should vote for it. He had only about four or five sponsors. Why? Because almost everyone in Congress is full of crap. So we are now doing a show called The Revolution. It's Young Turks 6 to 8 p.m. At 8 p.m., we're doing The Revolution. That's a peaceful, nonviolent revolution to get our government back to serve us. Started out of Operation Hope that we do at TYT. And so somebody said, hey, Jake, why don't you reach out to Marjorie Taylor Greene and see if she'll sign on? So I reached out to her, and she did. She signed on to it. Now, she's leaving Congress, but I mean, there's a Republican going, yeah, we should pay lower drug prices, right? And this is Trump's executive order. Why not? It's amazing that the rest of the Republicans and the Democrats are not going along. And of course, media is like, shh, because not only are drug companies the number one donors to politicians, they're also the top advertisers for cable news. So that's why you never hear about it. So that one deal he did with Pfizer, good, nothing wrong with it, but it should apply to all drug companies, all drugs, etc. And that is going to be much harder. Now, what didn't he discuss? Well, Mike Johnson convened Congress and got the hell out of Dodge. Why is that relevant? Because the Obamacare subsidies are about to run out. So the healthcare prices are going to double for a lot of Americans. So Marjorie Taylor Greene was on CNN yesterday, and she was talking about, average congressional district is about 750,000 people. And she said in her district, 75,000 people, that's 10% of the whole district, are on the ACA plan, right? They have health care through the Affordable Care Act. So 75,000 of her constituents, the great majority of whom are Republicans, and she mentioned that point as well, are about to have their health care costs double. And two huge problems there. One, apparently, I need the healthcare. Seriously, the two problems are, um, number one, the Republicans said, "Oh, you sucker Democrats, the corporate Democrats who are want to sell out. We'll pretend that we're going to give you a vote on the Affordable Care Act subsidies if you open up the government, if you vote with us and get nothing in return, right?" And they're like, "Oh, yes, yes." Wow, because all the eight that voted for them with them are Republicans. They're total liars. They agree with everything the Republicans actually want, right? So they got a fake promise, and look at this. Of course, the Republicans reneged. We told you. We've been telling you this for literally 2 decades. Every time these idiot, corrupt Democrats make a deal with the Republicans never deliver. But every time Charlie Brown goes to kick the football and can't believe that Lucy pulled it. So there's not going to be a vote. Of course, the Republicans were lying, but they don't. Why don't they want to vote, even though it's going to punish their own voters? Because they're owned by the health insurance companies, and their donors probably slapped Mike Johnson around a little bit and said, "Who the hell do you think you are? Those prices are going to go up. And we're going to get the money and not your stupid voters." Mike Johnson was like, "Yes, sir. Absolutely, sir. Do all Republicans agree we should screw over our own voters for our donors?" And they're like, "Yeah." And guys, when I say Republicans, keep in mind every time it's the politicians, not the voters. The Republican voters are going to get screwed just as much as the Democratic voters. There's no Republican exception for the reaming we're about to get. So that's why they got the hell out of Dodge. That's why Trump never mentioned it. And of course the Epstein deadline to release the files is Friday. But if they don't release them, Congress won't be there to have any kind of accountability. Well, isn't that convenient? So, um, but overall, one last thing about the speech. It could have gone in a disastrous direction. He's in bad shape here. His polling is significantly down, as I told you earlier. Unemployment's at a 4-year high. Inflation continues 3% higher prices throughout the year. So now, if he had said, "Okay, we're going to war with Venezuela," boom, Humpty Dumpty would have fallen off the wall, and you would have never been able to put him back together again. But at least they had enough political sense and savvy to not lean into the wrong direction, at least for tonight. And they were trying to address his shortcomings. So what this speech told me is they now realize that they've begun to hit the iceberg and they're trying to turn the ship. Now it's a little hard to turn the ship after you hit the iceberg. And I think the AI apocalypse is coming soon for jobs, and there's no way they're going to be able to adjust to that apocalypse. All they ever know is, okay, what do we give to our donors? That's not going to solve any of this. So, but he did have enough sense to try to at least mollify people, satisfy people, address his own base, and say, "Look, I'm trying to fight hard here on things that affect your life and domestic policy." So I guess credit to Susie Wiles and the other uh, advisors that he had to at least point him in this direction. But it is always stunning that they write these speeches and they put such outrageous lies like the ones I told you earlier. They write it down into the speech. It's amazing. All right, so Trump, if I had to say, uh, overall conclusion on the speech, was it an epic disaster? No, it could have been worse. Did it have his standard nonsense? Yes. So was it a good speech overall? No. Did he say it way too fast? It's weird how quickly he was rushing through it. Yes. But the damage could have been a lot worse. So there's your silver lining. Am I not merciful? Fairest show in America. All right. Much love, guys. Tomorrow at 6 o'clock Eastern, we'll see you. And by that time, you'll have gone to tyt.com/switch and you'll have a lot more money. In fact, I can save you more money than Trump can. You just do tyt.com/switch. Look, just look at your phone bill. If it's over $50, we're going to save you money. All right. Much love, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.